Now then, as to the sun-clothed woman, the next of these two personages in these chapters, he said, I saw a woman clothed with the sun standing upon the moon, on her head a crown of 12 stars, she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered. To make it short and simple for you, this woman is none other than national Israel. Couldn't be the church, as a lot of Bible scholars tell us, because we saw in the previous lecture that at the beginning of the 4th chapter of Revelation, the church is to be taken out of the world. Or after John had recorded everything concerning the churches, in chapters 1 to 3, he was caught up to heaven through a door, and he was told this, come up hither, I will show thee things which must be hereafter. I will show thee things which must be hereafter. That is, after the churches. If that be the case, then this woman is symbolic of a class of people that will continue on earth after the rapture of the church. For the woman and the man-child, all these events are events among many that must be fulfilled after these things. That is, after the church. In the Old Testament, we have this woman identified as Israel. In the 37th chapter of Genesis, Joseph dreamed a dream that the sun, moon, and 11 stars bowed down to him, himself being the 12th star, of course. Jacob interpreted the dream rightly and said, shall I and your mother and your brethren bow down to you? We have many other statements in the Old Testament teaching that Israel is the wife of God. 54th of Isaiah, for example, thy maker is thine husband. The Holy One of Israel shall he be called. God was married to Israel in Old Testament days under the terms of the old contract. Just like you church people, you Christians, you true Christians, are married to Jesus Christ today under the terms of the new covenant. So Israel was God's wife in the Old Testament days. Now there are only 3 classes of people the Word of God deals with today. They are the church, the Jews, and the Gentiles. That's plainly stated in 1 Corinthians 10:32. So if the church is taken out of the world before the fulfillment of these things, which must be after the churches, as you can see represented on the large chart here, these things must be after these things, the things concerning the churches. If the church goes up here at this point, 4th chapter of Revelation, before these things, then naturally the church couldn't be referred to by a woman producing a man-child. There are only 2 classes of people left. They are the Jews and the Gentiles. The flight of the woman into the wilderness proves that this woman is none other than national Israel. We have many simple scriptures. I'll give them to you briefly. In the 16th chapter of the book of Isaiah, the first 5 verses, send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. For it shall be as a wandering bird cast out of her nest, so the daughters of Moab shall be at the fords of Arnon. Let mine outcast dwell in thee, O Moab. Be thou a cover to them from the face of the spoiler. For the extortioner is at an end, the spoiler ceaseth, the oppressors are consumed out of the land. Here we have a definite prediction by Isaiah the prophet, telling the Moabites to let God's outcasts, the children of Israel, dwell in her during this particular tribulation period. Selah is mentioned in the first verse here, and Selah was the ancient capital of Edom and Moab. Selah was a great city in the days of David and Solomon, in the days of the old Roman Empire. Selah will be the central place where the children of Israel flee to for protection from the hands of the Antichrist during the time, the middle of Daniel's 70th week, when the Antichrist breaks his 7 years covenant with the new nation of Israel, and when they will have to flee from Judea into the mountains. So Isaiah predicted that Moab would be a place where Israel will be protected from the Antichrist during the days he will be here on earth. Now then we have many scriptures like this. In the 11th chapter of Daniel, verse 41, 42, these shall escape out of his hands, even Edom, Moab, and chief of the children of Ammon. 20th chapter of the book of Ezekiel, verse 33, where it says, as I live, saith the Lord, surely with a mighty hand, with an arm stretched out, and with fury poured out, will I rule over you, and I will bring you out of the countries wherein you are scattered, referring to Israel, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant. I'll bring you into the wilderness, as it mentions there. So when we read of this woman in Revelation 12 fleeing into a wilderness where she hath the place prepared of God, they said, Peter, 1,260 days. We need to remember these simple scriptures, how that God said after he would bring Israel out of the nations, he would bring them into the wilderness of the people and there plead with them face to face, like he pled with their fathers when he brought them out of the land of Egypt. How did he do it back there? Through their prophets, Aaron and Moses. He's going to do the same here. God's going to send these two witnesses on the earth to lead the children of Israel and plead with them face to face, like He's pled with them in the wilderness, and they're going to turn many of the children of Israel to the Lord their God. Then we have in the second chapter of the book of Hosea, verses 14 to 17, I will allure her, I will speak comfortably unto her, I will give her the valley of Achor for a door of hope, and she shall sing there as in the days of her youth. Then we have in the 24th chapter of the book of Matthew, verse 15, when ye therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet, that is, the Antichrist breaking his 7 years covenant with Israel, as we pointed out to you in the last lecture. In the middle of this 7-year period, the Antichrist will break that covenant and Israel will have to flee. So he said, when you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso readeth, let him understand. Listen to this. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let them which are on the housetop not come down to take anything out of the house. Woe unto them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. For then shall be great tribulation, such as never was since there was a nation to this same time, nor ever shall be. And except those days be shortened, there shall no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, the sake of the Jews, those days shall be shortened. Now you can certainly understand plain English. If it says, let them which be in Judea flee from the Antichrist into the mountains, then that's what it means. And it doesn't say one thing about let them which be in Georgia and Alabama and Mississippi and Florida, the United States and other lands flee in the mountains. It says Judea. And if you can ever find Judea on the map, locate it, then you can say, well, that's the country that the people are going to flee to from the Antichrist, or flee from, rather, during the days of the Antichrist. So, many scriptures, you see, identify this woman of Revelation 12 with Israel. So, if we look at it in this light, then, that in the middle of Daniel's 70th week, the man-child is taken up to God into his throne. The woman Israel flees into the wilderness, where she hath the place prepared of God. They should feed her 1,260 days. We read the dragon is wroth. And verse 13, when the dragon saw he was cast out into the earth, he persecuted the woman which had brought forth the man-child. And the woman flees, and the dragon is wroth still more, and he goes back to make war with a remnant of her seed, which keep the commandments of God and have the testimony of Jesus Christ. All right, then we have the simple fact that Israel, in the middle of the last 7 years of this age, just before Christ comes, will have a 7 years contract between her and the nation, and the Antichrist broken. Israel will have to flee from Judea. Antichrist will enter Palestine, as stated in the 11th chapter of the book of Daniel, verse 40. The time of the end, the king of the south, Egypt, shall come against him, that is against the king of the north, Syria. And the king of the north, Syria, shall come against him, against the king of the south, Egypt. And he, the king of the north, Syria, shall enter into the glorious land, Palestine. Many countries shall be overthrown, but these shall escape out of his hands, even Edom and Moab, and chief of the children of Ammon. Thus the Antichrist enters Palestine. Edom, Moab, and Ammon escape the Antichrist, and make the very country that these Israelites will flee to for protection during the last 3.5 years, into her place, we read, where she hath the place prepared of God that should feed her 1,260 days. So the two witnesses are Enoch and Elijah. The angel in chapter 10 is Jesus Christ. The sun-clothed woman of Revelation 12 is none other than national Israel, brought back from among the nations to become a nation in these last days, to fulfill not only Revelation, but many prophecies concerning Israel in the days of the Antichrist.